Welcome along, and everybody, to the Red Card Radio News episode hour. Hopefully, it's not an hour. My name is James. I support Arsenal. That guy with me is Sean. He supports Tottenham. We hope that this is your one-stop shop, the one place you need to come to for news in and relating to the English Premier League and teams that play in other tangential competitions. Cough, cough, Europe. And then other things that we just like to talk about. So we got all that tonight. We've got the tangential competition. We got the Champions League, and then we got something that we just want to talk about.
I would like to talk about how you somehow lowered my chair during the break.
Well, yeah. So I hit up Brittany. What's Brittany's title? Is she
A
the
creative director,
chief marketing officer or something like that?
chief marketing officer,
Yeah, yeah,
creative director.
yeah. I hit her up and I was like, "Yo, go mess with Sean's chair."
Yeah. Well, as soon as we hit record and you started going into the intro, I realized I was about 6 inches shorter on the screen. Like I felt like it was like just my head
Well,
on the screen.
I'm glad that you were able to fix your frame and get well positioned. All right, what we're doing in this episode? We've got a comment we want to hit on. We've got some Champions League that we need to touch on because the Champions League has returned. We got the Europa League coming up later this week as well, and then the World Chess Championship 2023 has kicked off. For some reason, I want to say it's in Kazakhstan.
Chess championship?
Yeah, we'll fact check that while we're going through. But we're gonna kick off. Well, actually, before we kick off with a comment, if you're new here, if you've just stumbled across us, if you watched the review yesterday and you've been the algorithm was like, hey, yo, watch this one, hit the subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell, share it with a friend, leave a YouTube comment. Rate it 5-star, thumbs up, all those things really do help us out. If you're on the podcast site, follow 5-star if your platform allows. All those things would really appreciate it. And maybe make some comments about the fact that Brad is still missing. What the hell, Brad? Ridiculous.
Amber Alert.
Yeah, we should issue one. Missing persons. All right. So comments. So we got Joel. Joel hit us up last week. I made the. I kind of asked Joel in the podcast. I said, Newcastle just beat Manchester United in the league. Would you have traded winning in the Carabao Cup and having the cup, and then letting United win in the league? Have Manchester United beat Newcastle United in the league? Would you rather trade the Carabao Cup for the victory that you just had in the league as a Newcastle fan? And he said, of course, I'd rather have won the cup than beat Man U this past weekend, but we absolutely battered them. Fact check, true. It was such a sweet revenge. I think we can finish top 4 this year, which is crazy because we're actually about 3 years ahead of schedule. So,
And the only one out of the group, not including Joel, that said they will be challenging for Europe within 5 years is Sean Stradamus.
okay. So
I didn't think it would be one. I did not think it would be one.
in my defense, and I don't know if this is necessarily a good defense or not, but Liverpool are having a historically bad season. Chelsea are having a historically bad season. Spurs
Historically,
well, okay. I mean, if we're only looking at the last 25 years, then yes, this is a historically bad season for Chelsea. If we're looking at the totality of Chelsea's existence, this is probably within the average.
Spurs are having an average season for us. We usually peter around 4th.
And this is about the time of year where Spurs get serious and they really try and pour it on towards the end of the season, pick up points to try and finish in the top 4. Though things are looking a little bit long for them in that regard. But yeah,
because
I think
because no other team around them wants to play games when they're supposed to. Like we're the only team that plays games when we're supposed to. Why do we have the full amount of games played and nobody else does? Play your games.
Yeah, man, I think it has something to do with getting knocked out of the FA Cup earlier. And I might be mistaken, but
Play your games.
But yeah, play your games. Play your games.
Play your games.
Arsenal have all 30 games played. What the heck? Play your games.
Play your games when you're supposed to.
Yeah, Brighton. Why you only have 28 games played? Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Why do
dumb.
Brighton only have 28 games played?
Because they happen to luck out and play against teams that were also playing in the FA or League Cup.
So it must have been that they had games against people in the League Cup, and they're
Yeah,
still in the FA Cup. So
yeah, it's both
yeah,
a combination of both.
yeah. Okay. All right. So all right. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Joel. I think that was kind of what we expected you to say. I think it's what I expected you to say because obviously you'd rather have a cup and be victorious. And plus, if you took 3 points away from Newcastle right now, they'd be tied with Spurs on 53 points, and be still in fourth on goal difference and have a game in hand. So obviously, you would trade those 3 points for for a trophy. Because you would honestly be no worse for the wear. Um, I don't say that. It's not like a dig at Tottenham. It's just like it's a reading of the situation, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's talk about European football. So it's been a little bit of time
I
since
got
we've.
you skipped a fun talking point.
Oh, did I skip a fun talk? What's the fun talking point?
Uh, I looked down at my phone pre-match
Okay.
to check the time, which is I realized completely moronic, given that I have two screens and both of them have the time on it.
It's a force of
Um,
habit, right?
of course, I have it, and I looked down and I realized that on my lock screen, it actually does show it.
Yeah.
Are Dele Ali and Christian Eriksen on top of Harry Kane?
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
How long is it acceptable for you to have a lock screen, or if you go to my screen on the computer screen, I have Christian Eriksen, Dele Ali, Harry Kane, and I believe Nacer Chadley. I can't see his number, but I'm pretty sure it's 22. How long is it acceptable to have these backgrounds?
I think they need an update, and I think they need an update at the beginning of next season. Um,
Yeah?
I think it's time. Well,
Is it time?
did you hear this Dele Ali story about how he apparently this is a thing in England where you will huff helium balloons.
Okay.
I guess like huffing helium balloons is like an untraceable way to have a bit of a high. Like so, obviously, if you're smoking weed, that'll get caught on a drug test. If you're doing coke, that'll
Yeah.
get caught on a drug test. But I guess huffing helium gives you a euphoric feeling. I have no idea. I don't know what the effect of huffing helium is.
I
But
thought it just made your voice sound squeaky.
I guess apparently if you ingest enough of it, but apparently Dele Ali, who has been frozen out he's at Besiktas this year on loan from Everton or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the
Yep.
manager essentially looked at him and said, "You're not going to play again this year, so I don't give it. You can come to training or you cannot come to training. I don't care." And so Dele Ali was caught on a Instagram story or something like that in Manchester. He was in Manchester huffing helium balloons, like this weekend.
What do you think?
What a shame! Like what an absolute shame.
It's like
Wasted.
it's just waste, man.
Such a waste. And
Like
and
like so many great goals that he had for us, but like you just see glimmers of talent where you're like, oh my gosh, your eyes light up of the chest down. I believe it was against Arsenal. The chest down turn goal into the near post. It maybe wasn't against
I
Arsenal.
don't remember. Yeah.
Um, Edge of the box, off the chest, turn left foot into the near post, and it's just like it's just wild.
It's crazy to me what a unceremonious fall from grace he's had since Pochettino left Spurs. Like
Yeah.
if you want to talk about a manager leaving and it just completely derailing a player's career, I don't think it's as pronounced as Dele Ali. His
I don't
career.
think. Well, see here from my perspective, I don't think Pochettino leaving decided that. I think Dele Ali decided that
Oh, I agree.
I think if Pochettino was still there and we had never fired him, Dele Ali's arc would have been the exact same.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I don't think Pochettino had like some string at his heart that he could pull back into being focused. I think he just was on his own with his style, model, doing magazines. He was doing the streaming, playing Fortnite. It is off the field interests that interested him more than on the field.
Yeah.
And and maybe it was Trippier getting sold because they were extremely good friends. Maybe that was the tipping point of where he didn't have somebody to keep him humbled. Maybe. I don't know if there's a single thing we can point to. Maybe it was a combination of all the things.
I mean, I could see off the field interest like being a thing, because that's kind of what happened to Mesut Ozil at the end. Is that Mesut Ozil was just more interested in off the field things than he was interested on the field things. And
Sure.
I mean, if you're getting paid handsomely and you show up to training and you train every day and you kind of just go through the motions and then you play on the weekends, like, and there's no repercussions, and yeah, just like go about your life. But then when those repercussions come, you find yourself in Turkey, which is where
Yeah.
both of them found themselves.
It just goes back to that. We won't harp on it. Won't tell the story, but the famous interview that came from the Jose Mourinho in
Oh, the
the
all or
in
nothing.
that All or Nothing of him telling Dele Ali, one day you're gonna regret this. At some point in your life, you're gonna regret this. I don't know when it will be, but
Yeah.
you'll know.
And I mean, like,
Well,
that's
his famous quote was, "You should expect more from you."
yeah, yeah, and that's a bit of an indictment when someone says that to
Yeah.
you, and when someone of Jose Mourinho's caliber says that to you. So, um, I didn't expect us to go there, but interesting,
But yeah,
interesting.
the question to the group is, how long is acceptable to have a background of players that have left your squad?
So okay, the question I would pose to you: if Harry Kane leaves this summer, if Harry Kane were to leave this summer, you would
Then I've got
almost
to update it.
you'd almost
I have
have
to
to.
update it.
You'd almost
Yeah,
have to.
those are the only three in the picture.
Like it would be so funny if
It's
if
just it's Erickson on top, Dele Alli behind, and Kane. My hand's kind of in the way. Kane
yo
was there.
if Kane left, that would be like the most, and you didn't change it, would be most like lonely ex-boyfriend, like
My favorite
hoping
part
it went
is
away.
Son's little face right here in the corner.
you
Son's
gotta
just coming into the picture.
you gotta update it, Sean. You gotta update it this summer. This summer. All right,
Well, son, yeah,
you gotta update it. All right, so this week the Champions League is back. Are you excited about that, Sean? Are you pretty hyped?
yeah,
Yeah, it'll be from a neutral perspective, right? Okay,
yeah.
so as of recording this week, the Manchester City versus Bayern Munich game has already played, and the Benfica Inter game have already played. So Manchester City get a 3-0 victory over Bayern Munich. That's kind of a big result. Benfica lose 2-0 to Inter. Inter get a 2-goal lead heading back to San Siro in Italy, and I think 2 weeks' time, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's
Should be
next
2 weeks at this point.
no, it might be next week. I think it's next week, actually.
Okay.
Should be back to back at this point. But so, yeah, so City, we'll start with the City Munich game. So you brought something up interesting that I want you to kind of elaborate on, is this whole Nagelsmann Tuchel thing.
So so outside of league play, I want to make sure this is
Yeah.
clear. Nagelsmann had not lost a competition game in all of his competitions.
Yeah.
He had advanced all the way in the Pokal. Hope I'm saying that right. And it had not lost
Essentially, it's the German Cup. It's just the German
yeah,
Cup.
the German
And
Cup.
yeah.
Had advanced in the German Cup and had not lost a game, or maybe had even won all the games. I don't know if that was true for their group games, all six, and then had advanced in the knockout stage, and then was fired. Tuchel comes in his first Pokal game, loses in the last minute to Freiburg,
Yep.
and then his first away leg loses 3-0.
It's- so a
It's
decent
damning.
I watched a decent portion of this game, and when I turned it on, it was 1-0 to City. And Munich looked really good. Like I'll be honest, like Bayern Munich looked like they were they were in control. They were well organized. Looked like they could go score some goals. And then just like defensive lapse basically gifted City their second goal. And at that point, it was just really hard for Munich because they're like, we really want to score a goal. You don't want to like a 1-goal deficit is like a huge difference going into a home leg. But then they got caught for the second goal and then caught for the third goal. It's just like, what are you gonna do?
I would be just intrigued because maybe this is a kind of jerking around question. Maybe this is actually a real question. But like when managers come in, like Tuchel, they come in mid-season, like he just did.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I would come in. First question I would do is grab the captain, pull him in a meeting, and say, "What have y'all been doing? What's working? What's not working?" Because I don't want to change this. I don't want to change everything up right now.
Yeah,
that would be me. But if
if
Tuchel came in swinging and was like, "This is what we're gonna do. I don't care what y'all been doing."
I think that's what
with a whole bunch of players who have never done this before. That's stupid.
I think that's what Tuchel does. I think he came in and it seemed like Tuchel seemed like the kind of manager that would come in and be like, "We're gonna do what I want to do. We're gonna play the football I want to play, and if you can't cope with it, then you can leave, and you won't play."
And maybe I'm just naive. Or maybe I'm just dumb to not expect players of that caliber to be able to adapt to whatever system at that point in their career the fly, because all of them probably should know a good amount of ways to play and where their position should be and where they should be on the field and things like that. All their positional things that Tuchel expects, they probably should know at this point of their career.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just dumb in that sense. But it does seem a little ridiculous from a manager to come in 3/4 of the way of the season and then change everything.
Yeah, and I would say what I would say about Tuchel is he doesn't play a particularly complex brand of football. Like you look at someone like Pep, and Pep plays some crazy football in terms of like
it's a lot of if this then.
Yeah, a lot of positional play, rotations and things like that. And I don't think Tuchel does as much of that. Maybe Brad could have had some insight here, but it is I do take your point that especially at this point in the season, only having a handful of games left, and being in the quarterfinals of the Champions League,
maybe we feel it out till we get some practices together.
Yeah. And maybe in practice they are doing what Tuchel wants them to be doing, and he's like, okay, it's working. It looks like you guys are understanding, and then they get into the game, and then there's more pressure on you in the game, and so some of these players, like, if it requires at least a little bit more thinking, they may default back to their instincts. And if you only have a couple players outside of the system, like playing outside of the system, it could really throw it off to a large degree. It doesn't take a lot to throw a wrench into the system. Well, I don't even know. I'm just talking generally speaking.
Tuchel's system is just player coverage space wise. His is just spatial.
Yeah.
Where they all should be able to interchange, but as long as the space is covered,
yeah,
then that's how it should be. From what I remember from his time at Chelsea, is there is just space coverage of these positions have this coverage. These positions have this coverage. I'm motioning for those at home, but it's just places on the field that this position covered. This is their territory. This is what they're supposed to cover. It's kind of like Boeheim's 2-3 zone at Syracuse. Yeah, everybody knows their role. If they switch, they switch. But once you go out to the wing, that role.
You know the next role. You know all the roles.
Yes, all the roles. And if you happen to switch out, then you know the next role.
Yeah. This Inter Benfica result is interesting. Now Inter take a 2-goal lead back to San Siro. And if Inter were to win that match against Benfica, then we would guarantee ourselves at least one Italian team in the final, based on the fact that Milan and Napoli are the other side of that quarterfinal bracket. So if Inter were to defeat Benfica, then we guarantee ourselves at least one Italian team in the Champions League final, which I'm sure will delight Will and plumbers and electricians everywhere, right, Sean?
Well, I was just gonna say there's gonna be a whole lot of there's gonna be a whole lot of plumbers asking off work
Whatever day the
for,
final is.
for a couple weeks in June, where
Yeah.
they wouldn't normally have to ask off.
Well,
Normally, that's their time to get all their jobs done.
to be fair, I think the final's on a Saturday, and so
You,
perhaps
you don't think sync links happen on a Saturday, James?
well, yeah, emergency plumbing, yeah, it's true, as true. But you're not like you're not replacing someone's HVAC system on a Saturday. That's a Monday
No,
job. That's a Monday job.
that's a Monday job. Unless you're in southern Italy,
Yeah,
then it's gonna need to happen now.
there might be some 24-hour service on some of this.
Yeah.
All right, Chelsea, Madrid, Milan, Napoli tomorrow. At least I say tomorrow. It's probably yesterday for you guys when you guys are watching this. So we're gonna, and we're just time traveling. We're time travelers. Do you think Chelsea have any shot against Madrid?
Yes.
Oh, why? Okay.
Somebody's got to do it because chaos. Because chaos. That's why.
Okay. So I will accept only one outcome if somehow Chelsea were to win the Champions League, which I don't think is going to happen. The only acceptable outcome in this situation is that then they give Frank Lampard a lifetime contract to be the first team coach at Chelsea.
Okay. All right. All right.
Unfireable lifetime
Hey,
contract.
I'm speaking for Brad right now. I accept.
All right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I
No,
accept those
but
terms.
I said it in the pre-production about Brad and his willy-nilly stars and chaos and all this other stuff. Like in the last 5 years, they've been a mess.
Yeah.
But because a couple of years ago they had an accumulation of $100 million players, just like they have now, that happened to just put it together at the right time and win the Champions League, all of a sudden that makes them a success in the past 5 years. When we all have eyeballs and we've seen they've been the dismal swamp.
Yeah, they're
And that happened to have some northern lights attached to it. Like I'm making obscure references here, but
these are Virginia references.
They're just swamp. Chelsea is just a swamp that happens to have a balloon bubble of muck come up, and it just happens to be a star every once in a while. Like it's been awful the past 4 or 5 years. And this could be the year because they have an accumulation of $100 million players.
And that's the
that
problem.
They have the talent.
That's the problem. Is that they have enough good players on their team that it's not outlandish to say
No.
they could mess around and win it. I don't see any world. I can't envision a world where Chelsea lose 1-0 to Wolves and then go on to beat Real Madrid in the Champions League. I don't see how. The only way I see Chelsea getting through this tie is if it's like 0-0 through. It would be 180 plus 30, 210 minutes of football, and they win on penalties.
Kappa time.
Right? Like that's it.
It's Kappa time.
Yeah.
The problem for him there is Kappa time's only good when he's the only 6'7" goalkeeper. When you got Courtois on the other side,
The dude's a monster.
they're both 6'6" to 6'7".
I don't think Kep is quite that tall, but
he's 6'7", almost certain.
There's no way. Google.
He's
this.
enormous. Both of them are enormous.
I know Courtois is enormous. I don't think Kepa is quite that tall. I'm gonna lose my mind if Kepa is 6'7", 6'6". All right. The big thing is that AC Milan are getting ready to slap Napoli around.
Yeah. No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. Napoli's the best team in Italy.
And you say that they are. I don't disagree with you, but AC Milan just beat them in Serie A, like 4-0.
You don't think they're going to be mad?
Nah, I think they're gonna get. I think they're gonna get Giroud. I think Napoli is gonna get Giroud, and
I want to know how long it takes. So, how long it takes to change over. Oh, they made sure the San Siro wasn't back to back nights.
yeah.
That's how long it takes to change over.
I mean, I don't think they actually change that much. I think each team has their own locker room, and then I think there's a third.
Well, there's probably like banners and stuff. That's what I was wondering.
I
Like,
would imagine a lot of that is probably set up on like reels, so like you could just like you push a button, and they all just like kind of flip over essentially. And but I don't even think because a
if
lot
they're
of times
smart.
like the banners have to be like Champions League banners, and they have to show like the Champions League stuff on the awnings and whatnot.
Oh no, no, I was talking about outside the stadium. You know, they show
Oh,
players and
okay,
like
okay.
the crest and all that other stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if like one side was Milan and one side was Inter.
Yeah, and like they tailgate over there, we tailgate over here.
Yeah. And then when we're
Yeah,
tailgating over here, that's the away entrance. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Elsewhere in Europe, we've got the Europa League. That's going to be
Nobody cares.
the ones that we care about. Well, okay, nobody cares, but the ones that I guess we'll talk about at least a little bit is the fact that Manchester United are playing Sevilla, and then Juventus are hosting Sporting on Thursday. We bring up
I
Juventus
guess
for
Will
whatever.
want Will messaged me personally and
Oh,
wanted
dude,
to know if you guys were just scared to play Juve and that's why you
I'm I'm
bowed out.
I'm glad that Will asked you that question. To answer your question, no, we weren't afraid of Juve. Um, but what I don't want to happen. The first time in my consciousness of being an Arsenal fan and my brother being a Juventus fan, the first time that we meet in a competitive match, I want it to be in a cup final. I want it to be in the Champions League final. Um, that's what I want. So Arsenal and Juventus are not allowed to meet in a competitive fixture until that happens.
So you already decided
Mm-hmm. Yep.
before the brackets were finished that once they were set and you saw that Juve was on your side, that's it. We're not making it. We're
Well,
not making it to the.
the problem is that we lost before the brackets were set. So we lost
Oh,
in the
okay.
round before the brackets were set. So we didn't know specifically that Arsenal and Juve would have been
Well,
drawn against
clearly,
it, but clearly we
clearly
would have
would
been.
have. Yes,
Clearly would have been. So
would have been beyond your power.
yeah. So with that prescience, we decided to avoid it and just bow out gracefully,
Yeah,
lose on penalties, and just call it a competition.
yeah, understood.
Yeah,
Understood.
yeah. Um, quickly, our final thing we want to touch on tonight: the World Chess Championship going on right now. Did we fact check where the World Chess Championship is?
No, I'm not Brad. I did not Google.
I have the tab open. Hold on. Yeah, Kazakhstan. I was right. So it's in Kazakhstan,
Are they
and
safe over there? No, that's on the
yeah,
other side of the Black Sea.
yeah, they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
There happens to be a skirmish of some sort going on in
Small.
the Azerbaijan Armenia area. If you had travel plans to go to that area of the world, you should think about rescheduling it.
Well, I think if you're going to the Azerbaijani side of it, I think you're okay. If you were going to go to Armenia, like going to Armenia is always dangerous, just based on the
Well,
geopolitical
I was
aspect of it.
thinking about this with what's going on right now. We have Baku in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I think is it 2 weeks
Is
or
that
three
gonna
weeks? Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks?
It's
A
gonna
week? Is
happen.
that going on? Okay.
Yeah, that's happening. Get out of here. That's
All
happening.
right.
Baku.
Two nations are at war.
Yes. Um, one is significantly smaller than the other, and has significantly
Yes.
less capabilities than the other. Um,
Yes.
so, but
Anyways, Kazakhstan.
yeah, Kazakhstan. We got the World
A
Chess
lot, a
Championship.
lot bigger, lot bigger country.
Yes, yes. It's actually geographically very, very big. It's huge. Covers a
Very
lot of
big.
land. Covers a lot of land, but a lot of mountains. But so we've got the World Chess Championship between Jan Nepo. It's got Nepo,
No.
and I'm not trying to pronounce his entire
Also,
last name.
also looks like Ian.
Yeah, but it's pronounced
But it's
Jan. And then against Ding Laren from China. So we've got Jan he's Russian, so technically he's playing under the FIDE banner because Russians are banned just from the world, and Ding Laren is from China. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wait, but the last time you guys talked about the World Chess Championship, Magnus Carlsen won, and I know that the World Chess Championship is the current World Chess Champion versus the winner of the Candidates Tournament. So why isn't it Magnus versus whoever won the Candidates? It's because Magnus decided after 5 consecutive victories in the World Chess Championship that he didn't want to defend in the classical format anymore. He is, I guess, just bored of the classical format and thinks that there needs to be some revisions to the way that they handle the World Chess Championship in the classical format. He is technically Carlsen, that I'm speaking about, is the Rapid and Blitz. Currently, he is the Rapid and Blitz World Chess Champion, so he's still holding some titles, but essentially he decided not to defend. And so Nepo won the Candidates Tournament fairly handily. And then Ding Laren was the second place finisher, so he was then the invited to take on Jan. So at this point in recording, we've had 2 matches played. It's going to be 14 classical matches before we get to a potential tiebreakers.
This one just is me just being curious because Kazakhstan, its history with Russia. It is Nepo of Russian origin.
Yeah.
Before Kazakhstan was broken off, or did he immigrate?
No, he's Russian. Like, he's legit Russian.
Okay, so my question would have been: does this just rotate on a rotating fashion, and it just happens to be in a different city every year, or was that of Nepo's choice because he decided?
It was decided beforehand. I'm sure
because I thought I remembered that when Magnus last defended, it was in Norway.
I don't believe so. The 2021 World Chess Championship was in the United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I misremembered that. I thought they played in Norway, which then made me think that maybe it was Magnus's choice of where they play.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right. So so far we've had 2 matches played. The way the format is working is that they're doing 2 games. They have a rest day, 2 games, rest day, 2 games, rest day. So far at the time of recording, we've had 2 games played. At time of listening, you guys probably will have already, game 3 will have been played, and game 4 could potentially have been finished, depending on when you're listening to this on Thursday. But as of now, game 1 was Nepo with the white pieces, Ding with the black pieces. That game ended in a draw, so it was half each. And then in the next match, Ding had the white pieces, Nepo had the black pieces, and Nepo wins that match and wins that game in 29 moves. So quite a quick victory, especially with the black pieces. So things are looking good for Nepo. Already have 1.5. The magic number to win is 7.5. So if you get to 7.5 points, you win the World Chess Championship. And so Nepo having won a match and now essentially forces Ding Laren to have to win a match in return in order to take points away from.
And starting off in the black pieces in the hole is not good for him.
Yeah, exactly. So if it was probably a good result to get a draw out of the black pieces, but then to lose with white in the next game was it's not good.
It's like losing set.
Yeah. Check Gotham or Agamottor. There's really great YouTube coverage of the World Chess Championship, so definitely check. I'm sure Hikaru is having coverage of it. I'm sure Hikaru is breaking down the games. But definitely check out some high level coverage of that if you're interested in it, because it's definitely out there. Sean, is there anything else you want to talk about? The floor, baseball. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Check back tomorrow. We have a preview of Match Week 31. We got a bunch of games that you guys can enjoy this weekend. Hit us up on Twitter. That guy with me is at Whiteheart_Sean. I'm at James Tiffany. The guy who is absent is at KSBradG. So you can send all of your hate his way. Collectively, we are at RedCard_Radio. And definitely check back tomorrow because we'll have a preview of Match Week 31. But until then, have a good one. Thank you so much for listening.